Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about how you can create wealth as fast as possible with Shopify. I'm going to talk about creating Shopify stores, specifically using either dropshipping or print on demand. I've done both and even combinations of both. And also, we're going to talk about the pitfalls, the struggles, and what you have to watch out for. So let's kind of get into this. If you want to go ahead and after this video start a Shopify store, kind of like the ones you're seeing here, I'm going to leave two sources in the link in the description. The first one is obviously going to be a Shopify free trial that you could pay $1 and you'll get access to a whole entire month of Shopify. So you're paying $1 and like I said, you're getting access to a whole entire month. A normal month costs $39 plus tax for Shopify. So there you go. You're saving $40. That's the first thing. The second thing is I'll leave a link in the description to a free little course of mine where I kind of show step by step how I created this design for the Shopify store. It looks extremely professional. It looks very, very good, well put together. So if you want to see how I built this and how I put this all together and you need some information on that, I'll leave a link in the description, like I said, so you can kind of see how I built this all and how I got this started. All right. So now let's kind of go through the actual process as to how you can create wealth. And this is not some sort of get rich quick or hack with print on demand, but how you can do it and how I personally did it. So I'm speaking from experience. All right. So I'm going to use my example that you guys have heard me talk about many times in the past when I talk about my first real Shopify business. And one of them was a bikini website. Now, technically, it is considered drop shipping, but you guys can do it print on demand as well. There's many manufacturers where you can do bikinis or swimwear that is print on demand. You can put patterns, designs, etc. Now, to be clear, the swimwear that I was selling was all pretty much the same. The only difference was the colors and the different patterns on them. So it's as close to print on demand as you can get. Now, once again, I have other print on demand stores, some on Shopify, some not on Shopify. That definitely wasn't intentional, just kind of happened. But the things that stand true are all the same, and we'll kind of go through them. But it dawned on me because this was kind of my first Shopify business that this was probably the least amount of effort that I had put into it, and it had succeeded. And eventually I sold it. And this is why I talk about the quickest way to wealth with Shopify. So I'll kind of explain things. Some of you have also watched some of my other print-on-demand videos associated with marketplace platforms. Your merch by Amazon, Redbubble, TeePublic, etc. I'm not saying you can't get wealthy with those things, but you can get much more wealthy owning your own store. Why? Because you can control profit margins at a much higher level. And when you advertise, you're getting the full benefit of it. You're sending people straight to your website. It's really, it's unequivocally more powerful from a financial standpoint. All right. So let's kind of talk about this. At the time, I had decided I was going to build a swimwear business, right? And I did this very simply. There were products on AliExpress that I could have drop shipped, and I did, right? I did exactly that. I found the manufacturer who was, or really the manufacturing facility that was spitting them out as fast as possible, right? Sending them to customers as fast as possible. They were reaching the customers within like a 12-day period. Now, for most print on demand, that could be actually a little bit longer than the current print on demand speed of today. Sometimes things take a little bit longer, don't get me wrong, depending on the manufacturer, but it's really not that different. It's comparable to what's the speed of today. So I created this store. I obviously designed it very, very well, okay, which is I really harp on design and I find it very important, which is why, like I said, if you want to get the free little lesson, you can call it a mini course on how I designed this store here. I'll leave a link in the description, like I said. But design was very good. It was very professional. Nobody looked at the website and thought it was bad. So the first thing you need to have is you need to have a niche, obviously, and you need to have a proper design. I wanted people to come to the website and not have to think twice if they're getting scammed or if they're looking at pictures that are pixelated and have to ask questions about the product. The next thing is I sat down with literally a pen and a pad, and I wrote down everything a customer could possibly ask about the product, right? So I started literally listing things. I thought about sizing, right? And I thought about material. I thought about fabrics. I thought about, okay, are people allergic to certain materials, or they, it's not good for their skin, or can it handle water in a beach, like chlorine type stuff? Will it change color? How do you wash it? All this kind of stuff. And I listed everything out and I answered all those kind of questions that a customer would possibly have through my store, essentially. So someone effectively, kind of like this, they would go to the product, they would click on it, and they would scroll to the description and they would see everything they need to see in the description about the product. It wouldn't be in a boring kind of way. It wouldn't be just text written out, but it would be a little bit more intriguing. And that was how I first started. Okay. Now, what I did was the products, I used the exact same products in the beginning as the ones that AliExpress had. At this time, there was no upscaling. There was no, any of the technology we had today. And so I figured, let me build it the fastest way possible. All right. And I did that. I had maybe 30, 40, 50 products. I don't remember the exact, but close to that, right? After that, what I did was I said, okay, now it's time to do the promotion. So what I did was immediately, I did exactly what I knew. I went on Instagram and I created 3 different Instagram accounts. Now, at that time, Instagram was a lot more powerful than it is now, and the strategies that I was using, I had to kind of force myself to use the strategies that I show you guys today. So if you guys are familiar, let me just whip it out here, botsandapps.gumroad.com or botsandapps.com. This website has a Instagram automation tool. It has a like tool. It has a comment tool. These tools help you interact with an audience. The audience that I was obviously targeting were customers of other brands, of other, swimwear brands, right? That's what I was doing. I was finding other swimwear brands on Instagram and using these tools against those audiences, and I was building up a following. I wasn't doing this with 1 account or 2 accounts. I had 3. And once again, this was in the beginning. Then as the Instagrams were growing and they were kind of getting that first few set of sales, what I did was I went into the actual store and I did SEO for every single product. And then what I did was I created blogs around the products. So literally, and I'm not exaggerating, I went through every product and did SEO for every single product. I think I might actually come out with like a course or something like that on SEO, like a basic, guide, like something cheap, like $5-10, but something that you can kind of set it up. But anyways, the point is I did SEO for all the products. My ideology was I'm going to do Instagram first. It's going to create instantaneous sales. But over a long period of time, I need something that can effectively carry the weight. Now, at that moment, I had not thought of selling the brand or the business. It just didn't come to my mind. But I eventually did a few months later. But I'll talk about that in just a minute. So I was sitting, and I actually remember this because I had already sold my first business, and I was in college at the time. I believe I was a senior. And I was taking my elective classes, and I was getting sales literally as I was just sitting in class. Every few minutes, my phone would ping, right? And I would get that little email saying, you got the sale, Shopify, etc., right? And I actually showed my friend who wanted to get into business, and he at the time was interested, but he never really, and he actually didn't believe me. So I showed him the Instagram accounts, and I proved it was real, all that kind of stuff. But anyways, so as I was kind of building this out, using the Instagram, doing that kind of stuff, I thought, okay, I have enough customers now. Now, mind you guys, I do have the experience to back it up. I had sold a business before then. I had, built a little side business on KDP. I was doing different things, and I was making money at the time. So basically what I thought was, okay, once I get over 100 sales, I'm going to create what's referred to as a lookalike audience. Now, this was at the time when lookalike audiences were a lot more powerful than they are today on Facebook. And mind you guys, I've been through the run of the mill with all kinds of Facebook ads, Google ads, Pinterest. I've done everything. I've spent tens of thousands on this kind of stuff. All right. So even Pinterest alone, and I spoke about Pinterest, etc., but that's not the point. Anyway, so what I did was Facebook ads, right? Now, today, I actually don't recommend Facebook as much for a beginner. I recommend Pinterest because it's more consistent and it's easier and it's lower budget and it's not as hard to understand. And I actually have a course on that. So I'll do a shameless plug real quick. If you go to autopilotpassiveincome.com, there is a Pinterest advertising course here. I'll leave a link in the description as well if you guys want to check it out. It's definitely not for everybody. I would say only the people who want to go for starting to learn how to advertise and learning the psychology around it, learning what to click, what buttons to pick, etc., and how it's actually done without spending a huge budget. That's kind of the way to set it up. But anyways, that's not the point. The point is I was using Facebook at the time. Now, I used what's referred to as a lookalike audience. At the time, when you had a customer list of 100 users or 100 people, and you could still do this, it's just, the way to set it up is a little bit different now. But at the time, 100 users, you pull up the email list, and you upload it into Facebook. Now, Facebook has data about who those people are most of the time if those users have used Facebook, right? Facebook is one of the largest social medias at the time. Now, those emails, guess what? Facebook has a database of emails. Every single person who's ever signed up through Facebook knows about this, right? Because you sign up with your email. And Facebook collects data on what you like, what you're interested in, etc. Well, guess what? All the customers that I had gotten came from where at this point? They came from Instagram, because I was getting the Instagram followers of those brands, and I was interacting them with the software tools, and I was converting the sales that way, right? So after I had done all that, most of my list had already existed on Facebook. And at the time, the number was, at least the way I learned it from one of my mentors, his name is Onyx Singal. Some of you guys know about him. But he said, wait till you get 100, then do what you got to do, right? So I got the list, uploaded it, and I ran my first ad. And my first ad was a buy two, get one free swimwear sale. So buy any 2 pieces, get the third one free. Now, the price that I charged people was $80 a piece. So if we're talking about a bikini, or not a piece, but a swimwear set, so you're talking about $80. So people had to spend $160, right, to get the third one free. Now, when I had created this ad, and I've spoken about this before, you guys have heard me talk about this very slightly. If you consistently watch the YouTube channel, you may have heard me talk about this, where that was the first ad that really grew like wildfire. And when I say wildfire, it did very, very, very well. This is why in the Pinterest course, I kind of teach how do you get those irresistible offers, how do you create them, how do you tap into that. I talk about all these things. But anyways, so I created this ad, and it worked, and it was getting consistent sales. So how can you set this up? Well, when I was setting it up, right, and I was creating this ad, one of my biggest concerns are people going to be able to know about the offer that I'm running? So if somebody goes, for example, to a product here, add the product to the cart, we need something like a pop-up or something to set up. Well, that all has to do with design. And once again, you want to learn more about design, watch the free lesson in the link in the description about design. And this is why I say design is crucially important when it comes to your Shopify store. I've seen a video of someone who, to me, I'll be honest with you guys. He talks about, he's like giving people Shopify advice, and he's not actually in the print on demand space anymore. He used to be, and he was telling people do this on Shopify, do that. And he would say stuff like use a free theme, etc. And I get where he's coming from, because he's trying to help people save money and things like that. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to pay the price. Whether you're paying the price in ads and you're going to have to pay more in ad spend, or you pay the price for a proper theme and proper apps and get the job done, either way, you're going to pay the price. So he talks about, you can get sales without doing it for free and this and that. You're not going to get nearly as much. If I'm competing against you and we're selling the same products, and trust me, you're going to have competitors. There's effectively no product you can sell in the world today. Doesn't matter if it's patented. There's not a product that exists that solves the same problem that you can solve, right? And you could do better when you're doing it for free. It just doesn't work. I'm going to keep it real. It just doesn't work. So people step over dollars to try to grab pennies, which, once again, I'm going to kill every single competitor if I have the better theme, I have better apps, everything on my site looks better. I'm just going to kill the competition. It's not even an argument. But anyways, so my website was set up properly. They converted. On average, right, I would get about 30 to 35% of the sales was profit. So it wasn't too crazy. It was pretty normal, honestly. And it was decent for me. In the beginning, I think like the first few days, we generated about like in the 600 range in sales, not in profit, right? And then it kind of scaled up from there. Now, mind you, if it had just stayed at $600 a day in revenue, right? And then profit became around a little over 200, a little less. Obviously, it depends on the day. It still wouldn't have been a bad business. But I was running this ad campaign and it was doing very well. And I never really shut it down. But mind you, I had experience once again from my past businesses. And I thought to myself, what if I need to sell this business the same way I've sold my past business? Now, a lot of people don't know the story from my past business, and I'm not going to repeat it because it's a very long story. But basically, it was in the fitness area, and I was selling fitness kind of clothing. It didn't start that way. It started with powerlifting gear, etc. But I was selling fitness clothing, and I was doing a certain, promotional, I guess you could say, campaign that was based on the power of certain algorithms. And when those algorithms had I kind of understood that they were going to slowly die off because I just have a good history of predicting things, especially with algorithms, and I understand algorithms very well. I said, okay, you know what? I better just sell the business and move forward from it as opposed to keeping the business and kind of risking and trying to figuring out what to do then. So that first business I had sold. And I thought I was going to run a second business for a long term, like, selling the bikinis, selling the swimwear. And I realized, I could just sell. Now, at this time, the business generated over 80K in revenue, over 80K in profit. And I said, you know what? Let me just sell. I'm just going to do this. I don't know where the algorithm is going to go for this ad campaign. And for people who don't know this, there are not a group of people, but there's a large... If you go on YouTube and you type in dropshipping, or if you type in Facebook ads, something like that, the people who teach these things, they don't talk about building brands. They're just jumping from product to product to product to product, and they sell this dream of what they call a winning product. Winning products do not exist. I need to say this over and over and over and over. There is no such thing as a winning product. It's called a winning marketing campaign. It has nothing to do with winning products. There's guys out there selling $10 million a day in toilets, and there's people selling $10 million a day in gadgets. There is no such thing as a winning product, all right? So anyways, because, you could search the word winning product on YouTube. You're going to get videos from people who have over 1 million subscribers talking about winning products. It doesn't exist. It's basically a way to catch you in, to make you think that something exists that's going to do real well. It's basically the same thing as a mousetrap, right? You want to get attention, you want to get clicks, you title winning product, sell this, and then everybody clicks. And the people who go in hordes and troves to click and find what that information is, they have no idea, how real business works. They think that the product is going to sell itself, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. But anyways, okay, so I sold the business, right? I took home the profits, and I just rolled off into the sunset. Now, why do I tell this kind of story? I tell this story because it's literally the fastest way to wealth. When I say the fastest way to wealth, we're talking about in the print-on-demand space, building the business up and selling it. Now, at the time, okay, I had a very bad experience, but I sold it on Flippa. All right, so a website, Flippa, is where you could sell websites. I've sold multiple websites and businesses on Flippa. I'm going to say this real clear. I do not recommend. I do not recommend you sell with Flippa unless that business is going to sell for anything less than $40,000. That's my personal opinion. Now, some people would disagree. There are businesses on Flippa here for worth 5, 10, 20 million. I don't know about 20 million, but I know definitely 5 million, because we literally just saw it. But Flippa is not really the place unless you're going to sell it for about 40K or less. Now, for the people watching, what I recommend is if you have a print-on-demand store and you plan on keeping it, then that's a completely different story. You're keeping it for the long term, and your job now is to come up with innovative campaigns frequently, right? That's essentially what you're going to do if you're not going to sell it. When you sell it, why do I say it's the fastest way to wealth? I'll tell you. So when you have a print-on-demand store, right, and you're selling, When you get the value of that business, that value is determined on the profit times roughly a multiple of 3 yearly. So, for example, if you've made 30,000 in profit for that year, that business is roughly worth about 90,000 when it's going to be sold. Okay? But obviously, if you're keeping the business, it doesn't matter what the value is. Only thing that matters is how much profit it yields. But if you're going to sell the business, right, you need to keep that multiple in mind, because what's going to happen is you're going to haggle, there's going to be buyers, and sometimes it might not be a seller's market. Sometimes, like for example, right now it's not a seller's market. And also, I was also in my position, I was unwilling, and I'm still unwilling ever, to sell a business when the buyer is financing the deal. Never. Never will I sell a business to somebody who needs financing, which just means basically there's a lot of people who want something for nothing, in my opinion. And trust me, I've been down this rodeo. I've sold multiple businesses, and I've hired agencies to sell businesses for me. I've been in the game for a while. But basically, when you sell that first business, right, either you're going to go to a place like Flippa, which basically is an alternative to an agency, or you're going to go to an agency. The agency is responsible for finding the buyer, right? They're going to have their whole email list. They're going to have everybody they're going to reach out to. They're going to talk about all the different benefits of the business. And what are business buyers looking for? What are investors looking for? They're looking for something that they could take and plug it into their machine. The reality is they already have employees. They already have marketing people. They already have all this. They just want to know, does your formula that you've put together make money, and is it easy to run? They don't want something complicated. So there's nothing more simple than a print-on-demand business with ads. Now, here's the thing. What did I title this video? The most profitable, or the fastest earning, or the best, basically make money fast, right? You're not going to make money fast unless you're doing ads. Now, I want to be clear. You can also screw yourself doing ads. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you should do ads. I want to be clear about this. If you want to run ads, you need to know what you're doing, and you actually need to allocate a budget to learn it. I'll give you an example. Pinterest. I spent over $80,000 before I can call myself very good at Pinterest ads. There were many times where I've wasted money or lost money, and I messed up. And there are actually many times where I ran certain Pinterest ads, and I had no idea what I was doing, but I kind of got lucky, and I got some sales here and there. Now, I wasn't really sure at the time what I was doing, but I was learning as I went. And that's kind of the whole process behind the Pinterest ads courses. I basically spent a certain amount to learn certain things, and instead, people don't have to spend that. They could just learn from me what I personally learned. And I'm just sharing what I learned. But anyways, with ads, guys, it's not a requirement. You do not have to run a business with ads, but it's faster money if you're profitable. That's obvious. If I decide to go with only SEO, that is a more long-term approach. In that case, I wouldn't be concerned with selling the business, right? I would not be concerned with selling the business as soon as possible if I'm doing it with SEO, because SEO does take a while. Search engine optimization, getting the traffic, all that, it takes a while. I'm not going to, sit there and sell the business after a year when the SEO finally kicks off 6 to 8 to 10 months into the game. That's not ideal for me, So what you have to keep in mind is when you sell the business, if you decide to go that route, you have to sell it at its peak. Now, how does it look like at its peak? I'll tell you what it looks like. Imagine you're running an ad or ads. It doesn't have to be one ad. It doesn't matter. But essentially, you're running ads, let's say for 6 months, okay? And it took you 3 months to put the whole business together, all right? The photo shoot, the products, etc., all right? You're 9 months into the game. Let's say you've done $120,000. Well, $120,000 across 9 months is what, like $15,000 a month? Maybe $16,000, $17,000? Let's see. 120K divided by 9. Let's see. All right, so that's $13K. 13,333. So so you're roughly making your 13,000. If you then make, let's say for the next 4 months after that, 6K, it's not time to sell the business. You have to bring it back up. The income has to go back up past 13K. Why? Because once again, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because the investor looks at it and says, well, this business is on a downward trend. I don't want to invest in a business that's on a downward trend. Why would I do that? Why would I buy something like that? So you need to make sure the business is on an upward trend, right? And I recommend, honestly, that if you're going to sell the business should be in existence for about a year and a half. A year and a half is the sweet spot for you to actually get the sale, make a decent amount of money on the sale, and pass it off to the investor where it doesn't have those big dips, okay? Now, it might take you a while to get there and learn the process. That's perfectly fine, but we're talking about the fastest way here. If we were titling it the safest way, then I would tell you do SEO and learn SEO and read a whole bunch of books on SEO, and that's safe technically compared to ads, of course, right? But this is not that. We're talking about the fastest, all right? So you have to sell the business on its peak. I think that's clear. Now, what are my recommendations for all the people who I call the little guys, and it's not an insult, but the little guys, the people who don't make that much through print on demand? If you're going to build a business, as soon as the business hits 10K in total profit, okay, 10K in total profit, which is, based on my standard, is going to be equal to close to about 45K in sales, okay? Once you hit about that approach, but it has to be at least 10K, you're going to sell the business for about 30K. Now, that might sound stupid. Oh, my business brought in 45K in revenue and I'm going to sell it for 30K. You got to remember, it's about profit. It's not about revenue. And then you're going to list it. If you list on Flippa, no more than 45K. I said 40 earlier, but really no more than 45K the business should be sold for. Absolutely not. Why? Because you're going to get a headache. Flippa has certain rules. And to be honest, a lot of their buyers, like I said, are really not investor buyers. They're people who are just interested to see what you're selling. They're interested to see what's going on, but they're really not hardcore buyers. When I talk about hardcore buyers, we're talking about people that will spend $500,000, $1 million in a blink of an eye to buy a business. That's who we're talking about. These are the people we want to target. Now, your business might not cost that much, but those are the type of investors we want to be dealing with. We don't want to deal with people on Flippa unless, once again, you're selling little guy type numbers. And I don't mean that as an insult, once again. But when you sell a business for 30K, that's a little number. It's not that big. Okay? In the world of selling businesses, 10K, 20K, it's not that big. Now, I wouldn't sell the business, once again, unless you've gotten that sweet spot if you were talking on Flippa. And Flippa is probably the easiest way to list, right? Where it's about, 10K in profit, maybe around 45K in sales. When you get to that point, if you want to list on Flippa, go ahead. Flippa is probably the most well-known for, once again, the casuals. There are agencies out there that will list the business. Now, agencies typically won't take the business unless the business has some. I've seen agencies that don't take it unless 300 plus K in sales. Revenue. I've seen other business agencies that won't take the business unless it has 500 plus K in sales. Things like that. I got lucky. There was a company called Latona's. It still exists. They actually sold people don't know this, but actually, I think you guys do know this, depending on if you watch my older videos. But when I sold my Redbubble stores that were amalgamated, I had 9 stores that I had sold. I have more than 9 stores, but I had sold 9 stores, and I had sold them with Latona's. People, like I said, you can look up my videos, my past history. I've sold it for $179, something like that, on my YouTube channel. So you can check that out. But anyways, so different agencies, won't allow to list your product and sell to their audience unless they hit a certain amount. All right. Now, here's the thing. All right. With the agencies, even if you hit that number, you have to be comfortable with the amount that they're going to take. They're usually going to take no less than 15%. It obviously is different per business, but usually no less than 15%. I've seen some agencies take 20 to 25% if the business has under $1 million in sales, between 500,000. So every business is different. But if we're talking about wealth, the quickest way to wealth, think about it this way. And this is kind of where I'm giving you my advice after being in the ringer. Especially if you're good with ads. If you're not good with ads, learn to get good. I mean, it's just that simple. But if you're good with ads, or you're going to become good with ads, this is what you do. You start up a Shopify store. All right, let's get rid of this link here. Let's go to, and by the way, for people that want to learn more, I have free playlists, free videos on my YouTube channel. We got all kinds of videos, all right? This is the 2024 playlist. We got the 2023 playlist. It has like over 18 videos. We have hours of content for Shopify stuff. It's all there. I mean, you could look at just this number 7 video, 50-minute video. We got the content. Anyways, so you're going to sign up for a Shopify store. You're going to do the whole niche, the whole work. You're going to plan it out before you do it. You're not going to just jump in like a lot of these videos that you see where it says, oh, Shopify challenge, 24-hour challenge. Don't do that. That's nonsense. That's once again, clickbait garbage. If you want to build a store, it's going to take you a while. You have to actually think about it with some sort of logic and some sort of approach to it. You don't want to get into these challenges, oh, I'm going to do this weekend. No, you have to be intelligent with the way you think about things, right? So you're going to take a while. You're going to come up with a great marketing plan. You're going to craft offers. And if you don't know what offer to craft, you'll have to do your research. This is where you start looking at products. You start looking at what people want to buy or what you're willing to offer. Truth be told, there's a market for everything. So when I say what people want to buy, people are not going to want to buy unless you create a good marketing campaign. But you create a good marketing campaign. What's parts of marketing campaign? The offer, the cost, right? The deal, the incentivization, the scarcity. All these different approaches come together in amalgamation to increase desire. When the consumer has more desire, well, it's a hit. It's a knockout. So anyways, you're going to create that first store. You're going to work on that store. You're going to start running ads to that store. When the store finally starts generating a profit, guess what? You're going to keep the ads running, but now you're going to work on the second store. And the whole point of doing the second store is because by the time you get prepared to sell the first store, the second store is already cranking and making money. One of the biggest mistakes that I have made is selling the first business that I had with no other businesses left over that was generating me income after I had sold the first one. So yeah, great. I sold the first one, but then after that, I was sitting on nothing. I just had a whole bunch of money in the account with nothing coming in. Now, me and you both know that the key to wealth is truly cash flow. Now, how can you essentially hop in a hyperbolic time chamber, speeding up time, a time machine? How do you do that? Well, you sell the business. You're going to sell it once again for close to roughly 3x the EBITDA. Well, let's just keep things simple. Let's not even talk about EBITDA, but profit. Essentially as close to a profit as possible. EBITDA is a little bit different, operating expenses, but let's talk about profit. So you're going to sell for at least 3x yearly profit, okay? So once again, if the business has made $14K in profit, you're going to take that, you're going to sell it. And obviously you get to choose where you want to sell it. I wouldn't recommend selling a business any more than 40. Honestly, really pushing it over 45K on Flippa. I've sold businesses a little bit higher than that, a lot higher than that on Flippa. I've sold business a little bit higher than that, a little bit less than that. And the less, honestly, the better. The more simple the transaction. And honestly, finding the buyer is much easier. A little thing that I want to talk about real quick, 2 seconds. When I was selling a business, I had it for sale for over 200 something K. I had it like $214,000 business, side business. I was selling on Flippa. I literally could not find a buyer. Why? And I had an agent, by the way. I had a hired agent on Flippa. I was giving them the extra commission. I was doing the whole thing. I paid for all the extra add-ons, every little ticker. I paid extra for all the different features. Couldn't find a buyer. Why? Everybody who was messaging me, who was approaching a serious buyer, and most people weren't serious. They just wanted to see what I was making money on, right? And that's why you have to filter through people. Most people who are applying to even see the business have no reputation of buying businesses. They're not investors. But they'll say, hey, I'm from an investment firm, and I want to look at this business. Like, it's just nonsense, right? But anyways, because they're looking for formulas of businesses that have previously worked. The point is we would deny every single person who acted like that. But the people who were serious and who were actually asking real questions about the business, wanted to buy the business, at the very end, they would sit there and say, oh, I can only get this business on financing. Are you willing to do that? The answer is absolutely not. If you're not going to pay me the full fee for the business, I'm not selling it to you, period. Why? Because if you have the business and you're paying me on finance, and for some reason, I don't know, you get drunk, you decide to build a drug addiction, whatever you decide to do with your life, right? Then what happens? I don't get paid because I just gave you my business, the thing that earns money, and I'm supposed to get a yearly payment, or a monthly payment for 2, 3, 4 years. And what? Halfway through the process, it just stops. because you've developed some sort of habit or lost your way or got busy or whatever the case may be? Absolutely not. So anybody listening to this, if you're going to sell your business, do not accept any kind of installments or any kind of financing. You take the whole payment up front. Anyways, so like I said, I was running into problems finding buyers, which is why I do not recommend Flippa for larger sales. Do not recommend at all. But I'll leave a link in the description. You guys could check out Flippa if you've never heard of it. Some of you have heard of it. Some of you may have not heard of it. Whatever. I'll leave a link in the description. But like I said, as you're building that first one, you start cranking on the sales. You build the second one if you have the intention of selling. If you don't have the intention of selling, then just keep working on the first business. I know we talk about diversification, but if you're truly an expert, all right, in this field, you should build it out as best as possible if you don't plan on selling. Like I said, if you plan on selling, it's a completely different ballgame. You need to figure out who you're going to sell it to, what platform you're going to use, if you're comfortable using an agency. It also depends on how much revenue you're generating. There's a lot of things that go into it that you need to keep account for. So if you have questions about this, leave them in the comments down below. I'll be happy to answer them. It doesn't matter, once again, if you're doing print on demand, if you're selling clothing, it's all pretty much commodities. It's all basics. Some people will say, well, I don't know how to market it. How do I market it? Well, that's the whole point. You have to sit there and you have to figure it out. Nobody's going to give you a scroll of magical information for you to just, make you $1 million. You got to sit there and figure out your innovative campaign. That's the whole game behind business. Why do some businesses have great products but never make money? It's because their marketing is trash. Why do companies like McDonald's, who have terrible products, are one of the most profitable? I don't want to say profitable. Stocks, could play a role in this. But why are they some of the most largest corporations in the world? Because of marketing. It's not because of the product. A lot of people get confused. It's not the product. It's the marketing. So anyways, I said my piece. This is, like I said, a decently long video. So I thank you guys for watching. I'll leave all the resources, all the links in the description. I'll talk to you guys soon. Put your comments down below, and see you later. All right, peace out, bye.